You're listening to the Listing a Week podcast, a podcast that teaches real estate agents how to generate a listing a week and grow their business. My name is Todd Tramonte, and I'm a Dallas, Texas-based real estate broker, author, radio host, team leader, and real estate coach. And I'm sitting down with my team of agents to talk about how they generate a listing a week or more, the lessons they've learned, and how they differentiate in a noisy real estate industry, and how you can too. Welcome. What's up, party people? We are talking about getting a listing a week again. That's what we do here on the podcast, and we've got a different crew with us almost every single time. We are packed into the studio today.
Heaving.
If you're not watching it on video, you're missing out because we look like a couple of high school kids in the back seat of a car. And while I mean a couple, I mean four of us packed in for a road trip here. But we're in the studio and we're recording, and we're talking about what is the value to an agent of having a listing a week. Now that might sound like a really silly, simple question, but we're going to answer it today. We'll bat it around between John, Robert, Ian, and myself. If you've listened to the podcast before, you know John Kanika. He's one of our marketing specialists here on the Todd Tramonte home selling team. So he's been with us for rolling up on 5 years now, taking and selling a ton of listings. We've got Ian, who you've heard many, many times with his West Texas accent. Wink, wink.
Strong West Texas accent.
Very west, far west, almost New Mexico west. And he's here, kind of from the conversion perspective, from our team. His role on the team is helping everyone convert, not just listings, especially buyers too, but really seeing it from the operational side. Obviously, I've done it in almost every role I can and created an entire training system around it. You've never had Robert on the show before, though, so you got a treat today. Robert's been in the role of marketing specialist on our team, as well as the role that most people would call listing coordinator. On our team, it's a more robust role and it covers a lot more ground, but that's certainly one of the things he does. He's been, on the streets as a listing agent, which is what most people would call it. We call that marketing coordinator, but he's also been on the operational side helping multiple marketing specialists on our team go out and convert and keep clients happy and create lifetime value, as well as some other marketing stuff that he does as well. We've got producer Mason here, but we have not given him a microphone and have no plans of ever doing that.
You really don't want Mason on the microphone. That's the second gift of the day.
Most of us are convinced he's just playing video games right now. But the question of the day is, what is the value of getting a listing a week? Now let's start with the obvious, right? So let's just say that you're in a real estate market where the average transaction, the average home sale is $300,000, okay? Now we are not gonna get into any sort of conversation about rates and fees and price fixing. So let's just pick a really random number and say that your average take home commission from your side of selling one of those listings is $5,000. Whatever it is, I could be way off on some math, but we're not going to use any fees. So we're just going to say that you take home $5,000 every time you sell a listing. So the obvious thing to say would be if you sold a listing every single week for 52 weeks a year, which even if you wanted a listing a week, I hope you're not working 52 weeks a year. I hope you take some time off with your family or whatever. Allow yourself to be sick every once in a while. But let's just say you sold 50 and you made $5,000 every time. Most people can do that math. You're going to make $250,000, $250,000, right? Now, if you come to this listing a week idea, but you don't care about one every week, you just want a lot, and let's say your goal was 40, right? Well, now you're making $200,000. Let's say your goal is 30, now you're making 150. That's before taxes and all that, but the point is, for big numbers, that's the shortest answer to what is the value of getting a listing a week. Now, the good news is the more interesting answers are not the shortest answers. They're the other angles of this, right? So that's the direct, how much could I make if I took, quote, a listing a week, and everybody knows that that phrase means a listing a week or more if you want, or certainly however much you want, right? So if your goal is 2 a month, that's a great goal. But the fact of the matter is, that's the quantifiable numbers, the math, the dollars of it, right? The more exciting value comes from other places, and that's where we'll kick it around to you guys, and let's just see what we come up with here. But as you've seen this program run, you've seen this system been put to the test all over North America and Dallas and Fort Worth in our offices, as agents, as staff, what comes to your mind? What do you see as some of the big value that an agent or a team leader or a broker will receive if they really approach the listing side of their business with the mindset that they can and should take a listing a week or however many they want?
It should be freeing, right? I mean, I think when I look at team members in a lot of ways, I see that they have an idea in their mind that when they first begin, that it's going to be all work, right? Work. I've got to get this done. And there's a big element of that. But it's also super freeing when you see people like John, Jeremy that we've got on the team that we've heard from a lot, Robert when he was doing it, just be super disciplined with time to be able to spend time with kids, go on vacations, not feel like every minute of every hour of every day has to be spent on business. So I've definitely seen like just a freeing, I don't know what the words I'm trying to look for there, but just that emotion of just knowing that they can go and do other stuff.
Peace.
And it not be, peace, that's a great word. Yeah. Like just to see John interacting with his kids and going on trips and helping out with theater stuff for his kids. He's an excellent makeup artist, by the way. Fantastic. But, just seeing him be able to interact and do all of that stuff is really cool.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that comes into play when you have this system along those lines is the fact that when you go into an initial consultation and you share your expertise and you share your system, and then you say, oh, and I have a life too. I've already proven that I'm competent. I've proven I'm good at my job. You're already eating out of my hand with everything that I'm saying as far as how I'm going to sell your home for so much money in so little time.
For sure.
So I've already built that credibility just in that initial consultation to where I can say, I have a life outside of this. I am an expert. And so you can reach me at these times the same way you would your doctor, your dentist. And they're going to be like, yeah, that makes sense. Of course you're going to be available to me at these times that you're stating. Thank you for telling me when you're going to be available. More so than whereas I think a lot of agents feel like if I don't tell them I'm always available, they're going to be put off by it.
So just to play devil's advocate here, what's the value of that, right? So that's something that sort of structurally, systematically happens, right? I think I don't want to put words in your mouth because you might say it better from a different angle, but I think what you're saying is there's a higher level of respect, and honestly, that comes from the confidence you have, right? So if you know, well, if they don't like it, I'll find someone who does. I'll find another one, right? Because I can get one of these a week or one a day or one a month, whatever my goal is. But but I, with the mindset and with the skill, then it allows fill in the blank on what you would call that value. I know what I would call it. But.
I mean, I think there's respect, there's peace. I think there's even a mutual trust when you're able to sit down for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and say, here's how we're going to do this, and here's how what our relationship is going to look like. The relational component that's there will have this initial mutual respect that you wouldn't have otherwise if you just sat down and said, here's the comps, I'm going to take pictures on my phone, I'll call you, you don't call me. That's not going to work.
Right.
Not that we would ever go that far in communicating to our clients like that.
Well, I think it adds an increased level of professionalism too, right? I mean, we talk a lot about looking like a lawyer or a doctor, a dentist, where it's like, here's my availability. Like, this is who I am, this is when we're open, this is when we see clients. It's a similar way when you're talking about, here's my availability, here's when I'm going to be available to talk to you. And during the morning time, I'm building my business during those times. After a certain time at night, I'm spending that time with my family. This is when I block out to be able to work with my clients and treat them with all the care that they need, answer all the questions that they've got. The cool thing is that we have a team, we have other people that you can reach out to in those other times when maybe I'm not going to be available for you. I mean, it just adds that level of professionalism.
Yeah, so let me pick at that a little bit more. So if you're listening or you're watching on YouTube or whatever, and this sounds stupid because you don't have a team,
right?
And this sounds stupid because you're not currently getting a listing a week, well, we're not saying fake it till you make it, right? But I will say this: you can still present yourself the way Robert was just talking about, if you don't already have a listing a week, the biggest shift you can make is in believing that you're capable of it, right? If I can help you with some coaching or consulting or some materials or products or whatever with that, obviously there's some resources there. Just go to alistingaweek.com, alistingaweek.com. There's some free stuff and some paid stuff and coaching, consulting, products, all that. But more importantly than any of that is the confidence that comes with understanding and the know-how. Mm-hmm. I know how to go and get more of these. Like I say it all the time. Whether for you that's 20 a year or 100 a year, or you want 10 agents on your team and you want each of them to get 100 a year. Good luck with that, by the way. But my point is, it's not as much about the number or even necessarily the skill set, because there's a few ways you can do it. The biggest thing is that confidence, that positioning, that mindset that you can. And if that's the case, and you say what Robert was just saying, this is my availability, and somebody says to you, well, if you're not available to show houses whenever we're ready, we'll find someone who can. You say, great idea. I think that's the right call here. I'd be happy to get you connected with somebody who maybe is a little bit more responsive. I mean, and then of course you could go through 100 scripts that would make that person feel stupid. I mean, not on purpose, but it's like, listen, I hope you don't have a dentist that will, do work at 4:00 in the morning whenever you want, when you get off your crazy, bartender shift or whatever. But my point here is this. We talk about a lot of technical stuff on the podcast. We talk about strategies, the last few weeks even, we've just talked about kind of appointment consultation strategies and how to create a compelling reason and an answer, and implementing scarcity and urgency, and the way we position and create authority, celebrity, expertise, all sorts of stuff we talked about that are technical, and script and positioning and do this and don't do that. But I think I started the podcast this week with the value in the dollars. That's the easiest way. The harder way is to get your mind around the fact that you can be so confident that you walk into an appointment and do that. They're eating out of your hand, and all of a sudden you say, hey, great, just wanted you guys to know I will or won't be available at these times. And to me, the real value in that is for you. Mm-hmm. There's a ton of value in it for them.
But it's adding value on your time.
Right.
I mean, it's a huge thing.
Well, and Ian said it, and I'll expand a little bit, and then we're going to force Robert we're going to force John to talk. But you said, both of you guys actually talked about respect. And I think sort of being a student of marketing and trying to always figure out what do people really want versus what they say they want, right? People say they want a bigger house. It turns out they want a bigger house than their brother, right? People say they want a safe environment for the family when deep down what they want is better than they had when they grew up, right? We don't always say what we want. We say what we think people want to hear that we want, or people will respect that we want. We rationalize what we want with what we think we should want, right? So my point is, as a student of marketing and trying to understand what really motivates people, a lot of time an agent is going to say, I want a listing a week, I want to make more money, I want to be a dominant agent or whatever. And what they're really seeking, at least one of the things they're really seeking, is respect.
Yeah.
And both of you just said that. Like, I want my friends who all went and got MBAs and have like big official jobs to not think I'm some chump driving around neighborhoods all day. Mm-hmm. I want these clients to not think I'm some doofus working off my kitchen table begging people for their business. So that respect that you talked about, to me, is one of the biggest pieces of value that comes from having a system in place and a mindset and a confidence and a pattern and a history of success, which can come from a listing a week or a buyer a week or both or whatever. But the fact is, it's the framing, it's the way you think and the way people make you feel that can be more valuable than the money sometimes. What say you, John?
To me, the value has been on many different levels, from financially to time with my family, traveling. And so I feel that the listing a week has been financially very beneficial for the last 4.5, 5 years being on the team. And it's also given me tremendous freedom to enjoy my family, coaching my son's basketball team, helping volunteer building sets and doing makeup for plays for my son. But just it's really been valued, a lot of value for my lifestyle as well, with the financial aspects.
Yeah, and I'll be really careful. I don't want to cross any boundaries, but John's been with us for almost 5 years now, and we've gotten to know his kids and his brothers that live in different parts of the country. Like, that's not something that happens if you're a solo agent grinding on the hamster wheel of real estate success, where you're just constantly running and going, where's my next deal, where's my next deal, where's my next deal, where's my next deal? When you can say, hey, I'll leave town for a week, I'll go visit family for Thanksgiving for 10 days, or I'll go on my daughter's dance competition trip, and I'll take 3 nights a week away from my business for the next 8 weeks to support a theater production, or coach basketball 2 days a week for the next 10 weeks or 12 weeks or whatever. Now, that's not to say that you can't grind out a real estate career and still do some of those things, but you're not going to enjoy them the same, right? It's a constant staring at the cell phone and wondering what you've missed or passed up or sacrificed, versus the compounding value, the compounding benefit of what we're talking about: a system, a mindset, a belief, a confidence, a positioning that comes with knowing I can have a listing a week, I can have a buyer a week, I'm in control. This is about me. It's not about the market. This is about me. It's not about the leads. This is about my skill set, my work ethic, my tenacity, and not about interest rates. And it takes away a lot of that tension. Now, it's still hard work, and Ian made a great point in the beginning about the fact that you still have to work at it, and agents on our team are still certainly working at it. But work is fun and enjoyable when there's a confidence that the results are going to come, right? Work can be a total beating when you have no idea what's going to happen. Yeah. So let me ask a direct question of John, just because at the table right now he's the one that's doing this every day. Are there transactions where you do a ton of work and don't get paid?
Yeah, of course.
Yes, of course there are, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Are there transactions where it feels like you have not done much and you get paid really well?
Absolutely.
Of course,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Now, that's fine. We can live in that balance when we know there's a bunch more of these coming, right?
Yeah.
But if you're hoping to get something to close this month and it doesn't, and you did all that work and didn't get paid, what happens? I mean, like, literally, mentally, emotionally, what happens in that situation?
Well, you feel like,
Yeah.
it's-
People go out of business because of stuff like that, right?
It hurts.
Yeah, I mean,
Absolutely.
it hurts.
Yeah.
It's totally can derail you. It can take away years worth of momentum, right? You hit that patch and you're like, ugh, wind out of the sails. The right bills line up at the wrong time, and all of a sudden you're applying for jobs somewhere else, right?
Well, and prior to coming to the team, I was in that situation with
Yeah.
with another company as an agent, and
Right.
it was not a listing a week at all by any stretch at all, and it was constantly from, okay, I got to try and get the next one, got to try and set it up, and this since the last few years has been very confident and relaxing
Right.
in the sense of knowing, okay, this system I know works. I've seen it go over and over and over, and it took off that pressure of constantly
Right.
wondering how the next one was.
Yeah,
going.
and I think just to illustrate the point a little further, and we'll get some other commentary here, but it doesn't mean it's always easy, right?
No.
A listing a week is, usually it's an average. Now, as a company, I can't remember a week where we literally didn't sign a listing unless it was like an extended holiday or something, you know what I mean? But my point is, certainly as an individual agent, you might go a couple of weeks without taking a listing. Then you might sign 4 one week, right? But
Right.
over the course of a quarter or a year, you have proven many, many times over that you have that. If you're going to work that week, you can get a listing that week,
Right.
right?
Right.
And it doesn't mean that they don't line up awkwardly sometimes, and you can go 3 weeks without a closing, and it's like, oh, this is getting a little tight. This is weird. This doesn't feel good. But that's a whole world apart from the terrifying fear of, is this still my career today? Am I going to start my professional life over on Monday? And there's people listening and watching that I know that's how you feel. And I don't do this very much, but I'm going to do it. If you're feeling that way right now, I want you to go to alistingaweek.com. Go to alistingaweek.com, and you can get some free resources there, right? There's a whole video series that I did about how to get a listing a week, and I interviewed 7 very impressive, very smart, very successful people involved in all different parts of the real estate industry. And I interviewed them on what they would do to add 1 listing every week to their business. We're talking about Jeff Manson, the founder of Real Geeks, Nick Kramer, one of the best pay-per-click guys in the world of real estate, Mark Martin, Jason Samard, Brett Baker, Lori Bowen, and a bunch of Matt Johnson, real estate podcast guru, and a bunch of other people. That's free. Go there and get it. If you would like someone to walk you and guide you through the exact process that Robert used when he was a marketing specialist, that John uses every day, that Robert and Ian now help me train and hold accountable and equip and track our team for, and that we've trained agents all over North America, the United States and Canada with, that's something you can pay for through coaching or some products or whatever, but you can start your hunt for all of that at alistingaweek.com. Now, I usually do not pitch that stuff until we're wrapping up the end. I just throw it out there, but we're literally talking about the amount of value that this stuff provides. And I know there are people listening who are annoyed and who roll their eyes and are like, that's great for you. But I don't have a pile of leads. I don't have a Robert or an Ian to support me and hold me accountable and keep me on track. And my encouragement is you can. You can get there, right? Whether you build a team like mine, or you remain a highly successful solo agent, or you drag your business out of the trash can into the level of survival, and then we get you to the point of success, and then we start working you towards significance and impact. And some of the stuff we're talking about, where you're thinking more about how can you impact those clients and your community and your kids and things like that. So those are my thoughts. What else when we think about the value that can come from this?
So I want to make just one thing really clear here too. I want to give a little bit of, not background on John, but John's in here almost every week talking about this stuff. We're not making this up. John's goal this year is 45 closings. John consistently every year since he's been with us has been right around that 40 plus closings every single year. That's the number that John is comfortable with and knows he can do, and it's a push. But with all of his other stuff going on, like, that's the number. 45 closes is the number this year. John's using all of this every single day. Like, this is not, I just want to make that really clear that we don't have somebody in here that's doing 5 or 6.
Right.
If that's you, it's okay if that's what you're wanting. But this is for people that are wanting to get more than that. And John came from another place, and John's now doing that and achieving those numbers that he wanted to do by using the listing a week system, implementing it at a really high level to be able to give clients value. I mean, that's just...
Yeah, I mean, it was such a drastic change from what I was doing before and where I was doing it, that when I came to the listing a week, it was just so refreshing and exciting and going, oh my God, this is amazing. And how it works, how all the steps, and just getting into it just changed everything. Literally the whole approach. And as Todd starts off with that, the mindset, getting the mindset correctly is just the whole key, I think, getting the mindset.
Well, I remember last week we were talking, and I remember you said something along the lines of, like, I saw all of it to begin with, and it was like, whoa, like, that's a lot of stuff. How the heck am I going to be able to implement all of that? Like, I already feel like I'm busy. I already feel like I don't have a ton of time. How can I implement all of this stuff to be able to get more business? And then once you actually start doing it, you realize, oh, this is a system.
Right.
Like, it's designed to make it easier for me on a day-to-day basis to be able to offer more value, not doing less work, but doing it in a less stressful way maybe, or doing it just in a more efficient way. And you were like, man, I was able to realize I have more time than I thought I was going to have.
Well, and that is so right, because once you get the listing, we have as a team all set up with the steps from coming back with the office saying, here's the listing, and then we have all the steps and procedures that take it from there, that get divided up with the whole team. Everybody jumps in and starts helping in getting it done. So it is just a continual flow from the moment of meeting, getting it, all the way to the close. Every step's laid out, how to do it, and the team to help and pitch in. So that's why, one of the reasons I feel that it's been a great experience picking up and doing a listing a week, because of the whole process doesn't overburden you when you have all those steps.
Right, and again, just because I'm here to defend anyone watching or listening that doesn't have all that, and to encourage you that you can still do this.
Right.
I only take 3 private coaching clients, so like I'm not trying to hard sell this, but the fact is, I've got 2 right now that are basically solo agents. One is absolutely a solo agent, and one is a solo agent with a little bit of staff help, but not with individual agents with role specialization and big staffs. And they're working this exact system. I mean, they literally are working our training modules in our system. Now, if you're listening or watching, you don't have to do that. My goal is that you would get your brain and your mind and your confidence and your heart to the place where you believe you can do this. Now, if you would like to learn from our system, obviously we'd be happy to show you how to do that through coaching or consulting or product sales or whatever. But if not, I still want you to experience the freedom and the value that we're talking about. Maybe you create your own system. I always say this, if you want to do something really great that you've never done before, there's pretty much 2 ways to do it. Number 1 is going to take a long time, a lot of money, a lot of mistakes, and it's probably going to be really, really hard. And most people will quit, but some people can do it that way. And that's called trial and error, right? And that's how most of us learn most things. Number two is you can model someone who's done it before you and learn from them. Now, usually you're going to pay them for their material, their time, their coaching, their training, their expertise, or whatever. So those are really the two ways. I call number two buying time, right? Like, I could probably figure this out on my own, but I'd rather trade money, which is not as limited, for time, which is absolutely limited. So I would rather be at the place where I have a listing a week in 6 months instead of 6 years. And it's so much more, it's so worth that exchange of value, dollars, for expediting my growth curve. And again, that's not a hardcore sales pitch on our process. This podcast is about getting a listing a week. And that, again, stands for getting as many listings as you feel you really want and need. But there's so many people stuck in this thought that I can't because fill in the blank with the number one fear and excuse. And so many of them are, I don't have that team, I don't have enough leads, I don't have the budget, I'm only part-time, my market's different, blah, 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 blah. And I'm just telling you, whether it's West Coast, East Coast, North, South, low price point, high price point, luxury, condo, townhome, North America, Canada, whatever, you can do this. You can do this. So anyway, for the purposes of wrapping up, if you would like some help with that, head over to alistingaweek.com. alistingaweek.com. You can get some free resources there. Remember, there's an entirely free video series there where I interviewed 7 top real estate leaders in our industry right now in residential real estate and asked them straight up, how would you go about adding a listing a week to your business or telling an agent to add it to their business? And they all answered it. It's a rough cut video series that we pulled out of my book launch last year. So we just cut out the part where I asked every single one of them, how would you get a listing a week? And we're giving that to you right there, totally free at alistingaweek.com. If after that you would like to spend a little bit of money and expedite that process, it's as simple as you can jump in and get our newsletter for like $10 for the whole year digitally, or I think it's like $67 and we'll mail it to you. You could get one of the modules that's part of our process. I can't believe I do this. Ian sort of talked me into it, but you can get one of those modules for $49 right now, which is nuts. To be really honest, I kind of don't like it because I think it devalues. I think it doesn't show the worth of the whole program. But anyway, all that to say, if you're looking for more resources on how we do it, then go to alistingaweek.com. If not, great. Stay tuned. We will continue to discuss it on future podcast episodes. I'm gonna risk it and let everyone sort of sign off in their own way. So let's just see what happens next.
Just do it. And do it. And do it. And do it.
Oh gosh.
Just do the steps, follow the steps, do it, and it is guaranteed it will work. I've seen it happen over and over.
Be better than the norm.
Run from the norm.
Run
Sprint
from
in the
the-
opposite direction of the average real estate agent. All right, folks, we had some fun with you today. Once again, we are not giving producer Mason a microphone. Thanks for tuning into the Listing a Week podcast. Todd Tramonte here, hoping, believing, trusting, encouraging you to believe that you can get a listing a week and it can totally transform not just your business, not just your income, but your entire life. You've got to believe that you can build a business that fits into your life instead of having to fit your life into your business. We'll talk to you on the next one.
Cheerio.